सो वेलकम बैक गाइस। आज हम लोग शुरू करेंगे विद द नेक्स्ट पार्ट। द लास्ट लेक्चर हम लोगों ने 3 टाइप के सॉल्यूशन सीखे थे, राइट? सो टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू बी प्रोसीडिंग अहेड. I'm Nikon sir and I'll be continuing with the rest of the part. Okay, so today we're going to be learning a new concept which is known as active transport. Now what exactly is this active transport? So active transport मतलब क्या? It's a very simple process where अभी तक अगर हम लोगों ने मोशन देखे हैं, movement, like let's consider we have seen osmosis, right? We have seen diffusion. So it is always going to be occurring from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, but there are certain processes which go in the opposite way. और ऐसे प्रोसेस को हम लोग बोलते हैं the active transport. So if at all we look at the definition of this, so the transport of certain substances in and out of the cell which requires energy और oftenly against the gradient होते हैं, ऐसे टाइप के ट्रांसपोर्ट्स को हम लोग कहेंगे एक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्ट. ओके, नाउ if at all we consider, दो टाइप के प्रोसेसेस होते हैं. फर्स्ट वन इज एंडोसाइटोसिस, the other one is exocytosis. Okay, now let us break down this word. The first word is endocytosis. The word endo means inside. So when something is being taken in, this process is what we know as endocytosis. The other term out there is exocytosis. So exocytosis मतलब क्या? So exo is outside. So whenever things are being given outside, such kind of a process is what we know as exocytosis. So just have a look at an animation that I've been following out here. Okay, so now if at all you consider this process, so here you are able to see that a material is being getting in, right? So this process is what we know as endocytosis. Yes, so you can see something is being taken in. This is what we know as endocytosis, whereas the other way around we are seeing the process of exocytosis. Now what exactly is this exocytosis? So as I have told you, exo is outside. So when some material is being given out of the cell, this process is what we know as exocytosis. Okay, so clear about these two processes that has been learned till now. The first one was endocytosis, the other one was exocytosis. Now we'll be proceeding ahead with the next slide. So let's move ahead. So the next slide, we are going to be from here on, we are going to be studying different parts of the cell. Okay, while studying different parts of the cell, we are also going to be encountering different organelles. So first we'll be starting off with the cell wall. Now a very basic thing, what do we know by a wall? Wall कहाँ होती है? Wall is nothing but the outermost covering that we have in our house, right? So हमारे घर में भी we are having walls. Similarly, the cells also show the presence of wall, and this is what we know as the cell wall. A very simple fact that we are all aware of about the cell wall is this cell wall is present especially only in the plant cells, right? So cell walls are absent in the animal cells. So let us start off. So in the it's an additional rigid covering present outside the cell membrane, and it has been present only in the plant cell. Now a very strange fact, अभी तक हम लोगों ने एक टर्म पढ़ा है what we know as semi permeable membrane, right? So semi permeable membrane का एग्जाम्पल था, yes, can you recall it? Plasma membrane or cell membrane. So cell membrane or the plasma membrane is what we know as a semi permeable membrane, but this cell wall is a freely permeable membrane. So in the second point you'll see that highlighted word out there, freely permeable, which means it allows all sorts of substances to enter and leave from the cell. Okay, now the next point that is very important about this cell wall is it has been made up of cellulose. Now what is this cellulose? Yes, like let us consider a very simple thing like Maggi. Maggi किससे बनती है? It has been made up of maida, right? And component which makes up this product. Similarly, plants have been made up of a very simple chemical molecule which is known as cellulose. Cellulose is nothing but a type of a carbohydrate. Let me tell you a very important and a strange fact about the cellulose. Cellulose is the most abundant compound that is being found on the earth. ये अर्थ पे अगर कोई केमिकल मॉलिक्यूल सबसे ज़्यादा है, so that chemical molecule is nothing but this cellulose. Okay, now so when we see these plant cells, अगर हम लोग ये cell wall के बारे में बात करें, so this cell wall is a non-living material. Why? Because it's nothing but a dead layer that has been surrounding, that has been providing rigidity to the plant cell. Okay, so when a living plant cell loses water by osmosis, it results in shrinkage of the cell content. So बहुत time ऐसा भी होता है, like we are all aware of raisins, right? The black raisins. Okay, Now these black raisins are basically nothing but the resultant of the actual grapes which have been shrunken down. मतलब नॉर्मल ग्रेप्स जो ब्लैक ग्रेप्स हम लोग खाते हैं, जब ये श्रिंक हो जाती है तो वो बनाती है ब्लैक रेजिन्स, राइट. सो हम लोग आगे का पॉइंट पढ़ेंगे. When a living plant cell loses water by osmosis. What is osmosis? We are all aware. Movement of the water molecule from higher concentration to the lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. So it results in shrinkage of the cell content away from the cell wall. This is what we know as plasmolysis. Plasmolysis मतलब एकदम सिंपल है कि हमारे पास, let us consider a very simple example of a balloon. Balloon में से अगर हम लोगों ने हवा निकाल दी तो what is going to be happening is the balloon is going to be shrinking down, right? This process is what we know as plasmolysis. वैसे ही cells में जब पानी अंदर का बाहर निकल जाता है और सेल श्रिंक हो जाता है, इस प्रोसेस को हम लोग कहते हैं प्लाज्मोलिसिस. ओके, नाउ लेट अस स्टडी द फंक्शन ऑफ द सेल मेम्ब्रेन, सेल वॉल. सो सेल वॉल का फंक्शन क्या है? फर्स्ट थिंग, इट इज डेड, और बाहर के साइड है, इट इज कंपैरेटिवली हार्ड. सो the first and the important function that it maintains, it gives protection and rigidity to the cell along with determining the shape. So now, like, just assume you are having a wooden piece, okay, or let's consider the trunk of a tree. So if you go and give a tight punch to that trunk of a tree, do you think the shape of that trunk is going to be changing? Obviously not. The shape does not change. The basic reason for that is the rigidity that has been provided by this cell wall. Okay, now the second important function as far as the cell wall has been concerned, it helps to counterbalance the pressure exerted by the vacuole which is filled with water. Now let us consider a very simple example. हमारे पास एक बलून है. ये बलून के अंदर हम लोगों ने पानी भर दिया. We keep on filling water inside that balloon. There has to be a limit to that. अगर हम लोग पानी भरते ही गए तो एक स्टेट ऐसा आ जाएगा जब ये बलून जो है वो बर्स्ट हो जाएगा, राइट. सिमिलरली प्लांट को जब हम लोग पानी देते हैं तो वो अंदर लेते ही जाता है. देयर हैज टू बी अ लिमिट. क्या कभी ऐसा देखा है कि प्लांट ने ज्यादा पानी पी लिया तो फूट गया? नहीं हो सकता. इट इज बिकॉज देयर इज अ सेल वॉल विच इज बीन प्रेजेंट ऑन द आउटर साइड, जो क्या करता है, जो अंदर आने वाला पानी है उसको उससे एग्जर्ट हुआ प्रेशर जो है वो पूरी तरह से सोख लेती है. सो इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ द हार्डनेस दैट इज बीन प्रोवाइडेड बाय द सेल वॉल, द प्लांट सेल्स यूजुअली डू नॉट गेट burst open. Okay, so this was about the cell wall. I hope it's clear as of now. अब next slide में हम लोग देखेंगे the image of this cell wall. So पहला वाला अगर आप देखोगे, so what it is, there is nothing but the image of your cell wall, जहाँ पे हम लोगों को बाकी सारे organelles दिख रहे हैं. So हम लोग फोकस करेंगे कि organelles क्या होते हैं. So if at all you look at the outermost part, outermost part में क्या हो रहा है? What we can see is there is a dark lining, and that's where we call this the cell wall. So cell wall provides structure to the plant cell. The cell wall also bonds with other cell wall to form the structure of a plant. So plant के structure में बहुत सारे cells होते हैं. So ये cell walls जो है एक दूसरे को चिपक जाते हैं, and that's how they maintain the structure. Okay, now this is the actual cell that has been seen under a microscope. अगर हम लोग माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे एक सेल देखें, प्लांट सेल, तो कैसा दिखता है? सो दिस इज हाउ हम लोग एक रेक्टेंगल देख रहे हैं, राइट. सो दैट रेक्टेंगल इज नथिंग बट एन इंडिविजुअल सेल, और उसके अंदर जो है वो पूरी तरह से मटेरियल भरा हुआ है. ये हम लोगों ने एकदम नॉर्मल कंडीशन के नीचे किया है. सो हम लोगों ने, आपने देखा होगा यहाँ पे, दिस एक्सपेरिमेंट वाज बीन डन अंडर अ टैप वाटर. पर हमने एक डेफिनेशन पढ़ा जिसको हमने रीड किया था एज प्लाज्मोलिसिस. प्लाज्मोलिसिस मतलब क्या? कि जब अंदर का सारा मटेरियल निकल जाएगा और सेल श्रिंक हो जाएगा, ऐसे कंडीशन को हम लोग बोलेंगे प्लाज्मोलिसिस. सो मैं आपको और एक इमेज दिखाता हूं जिसमें अंदर का कंटेंट जो है वो पूरी तरह से श्रिंक हो चुका है. बट नाउ सेल का शेप चेंज हुआ है कहीं? नहीं, सेल का शेप वैसे का वैसा ही है. सो नाउ वी कैन सी द सेल वॉल इन अ वेरी क्लियर वे. ओके, ना ये सेल श्रिंक होने के लिए हमने क्या किया था? तो हम लोगों ने NaCl का 10% NaCl का सोल्यूशन लिया था, जिसकी वजह से सेल के अंदर का पानी जो है वो पूरी तरह से बाहर आ गया था, सेल श्रिंक हो गया था, एंड दैट्स वेयर वी कैन सी द इमेज ऑफ दिस सेल वॉल प्रोफिशिएंटली. ओके, नाउ वी विल बी स्टार्टिंग ऑफ. सो आई होप सेल वॉल इज क्लियर एज ऑफ नाउ. अभी हम लोग स्टार्ट करेंगे विथ द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. हम लोग शुरुआत करेंगे विद द नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ एन पार्ट, द नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ एन ऑर्गेनल, जिसका नाम है द साइटोप्लाज्म. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट ऑफ विद द साइटोप्लाज्म. So cytoplasm क्या है? Cytoplasm is nothing but a jelly-like material that has been present inside a cell. now एक balloon, एक ball assume कर लो, okay? या फिर let us consider simply a balloon जिसके अंदर हम लोगों ने पानी भरा हुआ है, right? Now if at all I want to change the shape of this balloon, is it possible? डेफिनेटली पॉसिबल नहीं होता है. वैसे ही लेट अस कंसिडर, आप क्या करो, यू टेक वन ऑफ योर हैंड और दूसरे रिस्ट से आप उसको दबा दो, ओके ना. वो परमानेंटली आपके हाथ या फिर पैर का शेप चेंज हो जाएगा? डेफिनेटली नहीं होता है. जैसे ही आप उसको रिलीज कर देते हो, द सेल गेट्स बैक टू द नॉर्मल पोजीशन. नाउ ये फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है, ये सेल में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी आती कैसे है? सो इट इज जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस जेली लाइक मटीरियल दैट हैज बीन प्रेजेंट इनसाइड, एंड दिस जेली लाइक मटीरियल इज समथिंग दैट वी नो एज cytoplasm, right? So if at all we read certain characters about the cytoplasm, the first thing that we need to know, it is a fluid which lies between the nucleus and the cell membrane. So cell membrane और न्यूक्लियस के बीच में जो जेली लाइक मटेरियल है उसको हम लोग साइटोप्लाज्म बोलते हैं. आप आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट कि जो ऑर्गेनल्स हम लोग सीख रहे हैं, जैसे ही आप वीडियो में आगे बढ़ोगे, आई वुड रिकमेंड यू टू टेक द स्क्रीनशॉट्स ऑफ इट सो दैट इट्स वेरी इजी फॉर यू टू मेक आउट नोट्स आउट ऑफ इट. ओके, नाउ द सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट अबाउट द साइटोप्लाज्म इज इट्स जेली लाइक सब्सटेंस. इट इज लिविंग एंड इट्स कॉन्स्टेंटली मूविंग, ओके, बिकॉज फ्लूइड इज ऑलवेज इन मोशन. उसके अंदर ये बहुत सारे ऑर्गेनल्स जो है वो साइटोप्लाज्म में लाई करते हैं ना. ये ऑर्गेनल्स मतलब क्या? जैसे हमारे बॉडी में ऑर्गन्स होते हैं, राइट? वी आर हैविंग हार्ट, वी आर हैविंग किडनीज, वी आर हैविंग, right? So since all these parts are nothing but the organs of your body, similarly each and every cell is also going to be having different types of organelles, right? Now if at all we consider like any kind of a plant cell or any kind of an animal cell is nothing but a place where a lot of chemical reactions have been taking place. So each and every chemical reaction has always been taking place in some or the other kind of a medium. कोई भी reaction हवा में नहीं होता है, it always needs a medium for that, right? Similarly cell में जो भी reactions होते हैं, all these reactions are going to be occurring inside this cytoplasm. Now along with that, what are the functions of the cytoplasm? So cytoplasm also stores a lot of substances like amino acids. Now what are these amino acids? So amino acids are nothing but singular molecules of the proteins that have been present. Along with that, it also helps in storage of glucose. Now what is glucose? Glucose is the food that has been produced by the plant. It also stores certain vitamins, etc, etc. Next point, so in animal cells the cytoplasm is more granular. Now granular मतलब क्या? Granular is nothing but there is a presence of a lot of tiny organelles or tiny parts which are known as the ribosomes. Okay, due to the presence of the ribosomes, the cytoplasm that is being present in the animal cells is granular. It is dense, while if at all we consider in the plant cells, it is comparatively thin and it is being pushed towards the corner due to the presence of large central vacuoles. Now we are all aware that plant cells, they have something that is known as a vacuole. Now what exactly is this vacuole? Vacuole is nothing but a storage sac that has been present inside the plant cell. Okay, like since like if at all we consider your house, so you are having certain storage bins, right? So we store certain material out there. हम लोग कोई भी चीज को स्टोर करने के लिए हमारे पास जैसे स्टोर हाउसेस रहते हैं. Similarly, if at all we consider a plant cell is also having a lot of storehouses, and these storehouses are what we know as vacuole. Now if at all we consider the plant cells, in plant cells the size of these storehouses is comparatively huge, due to which what it does is it pushes off the cytoplasm towards the extremity. Okay, so after this we'll be moving on. I'll just show you how exactly we'll have a look at a small animation which will help you like how help you to actually feel like how exactly does this cytoplasm look like. Okay, so just a moment. Yes, so if at all you consider this dancing jelly material, so this is nothing but the cytoplasm that is there. Okay, so cytoplasm is also just like this. It's nothing but just a jelly material that has been present, which is going to be making sure that the cell is going to be having flexible shape. Okay, so after this let's move on into the next part. We'll be moving on into the next slide. So after this we're going to be studying a lot of cell organelles. Now what exactly are the cell organelles? As we have discussed earlier, cell organelles are nothing but tiny parts that are being present inside the cell. Okay, like as human bodies do have certain organs, right? Similarly, the cells also have tiny organs present inside them, which are said to be the cell organelles. Okay, now if at all we consider, like there are a number of cell organelles that are being present, we are going to be studying some of them in details. We are going to be starting off with the nucleus. You must be aware of a nucleus, right? You must be aware of a mitochondria. You must be aware of what we know as a Golgi apparatus. So all these things are nothing but these are all known as the cell organelles. So we are just having a look at a general characteristic of these cell organelles. So any kind of an organelle is nothing but a specialized unit within a cell that has a specific function and is usually enclosed within the own lipoprotein membrane. So let's say ignore this. This is not going to be as important as far as your exams have been concerned, but to make sure that we are supposed to learn this highlighted term out there, which is said to be lipoprotein. Now it sounds different, it sounds difficult, so let's break down this word lipoprotein. So if at all we break down this word lipoproteins, it has been made up of lipids and proteins. Okay, so lipids and proteins collectively, they are going to be making up these lipoproteins. Okay, now what are lipids? Lipids are nothing but fats. So fats and proteins, when they combine together, they are going to be making up a lipoprotein. And all the organelles have been made up of the same kind of a chemical molecule. So if at all we consider these organelles, they are living. None of the organelles inside the body can be dead. Okay, if at all we consider the human body, do we have any kind of a dead organs? Obviously not. Similarly, all kind of organelles that have been present inside the cell are also going to be living. Okay, all of them, they are having a definite shape, structure, and are being bounded by a membrane which keeps the content separate from the surrounding cytosol. Now what exactly is the cytosol? Cytosol is nothing but something that we have just learned, something that we know as the cytoplasm. Okay, now in the next lecture, what we're going to be learning is we're going to be starting off with a very important part. We are going to be starting off with the nucleus and the rest of the organelles that have been there inside a cell. Okay, so I hope whatever was being taught as of now is clear. Till then, stay safe, stay home.